Hi everybody. So today I'm in this valley and I'm exploring this hilltop on that side right over there. It goes for about maybe half a mile that way, and it has a lot of thicket on top of it and a lot of points or spurs coming off of it as well. So my plan today is to follow this stream and climb up those points one by one and come as close to the thicket as possible to see if I can find any trails coming out, and if I do, maybe find some potential setups off of those trails, and then basically slip in here during hunting season, follow the valley, get up those spurs, climb up on the tree, and wait for the deer to come down into the thermal hub, or to feed or something, and then basically intercept them as they're walking down from the spurs. So before I was able to even get to the first spur, I'm starting to see sign already. So I have a first rub over here. It's not a fresh rub. It happened probably last season. It looks like it's been rubbed the year before that as well. This one is an old rub as well. So I'm still following the stream, and what I'm seeing is basically I'm seeing disturbed leaves, disturbed foliage, disturbed branches. I have about maybe another quarter of a mile to go that way before I hit my first spur, because there are about 3 or 4 spurs that I want to check out. So I'm going to the furthest one first and then working my way back. I'm also gonna walk inside of the bedding, inside of that thicket, and see if I can actually find any actual beds, their size, location, in comparison to the transition line when the thicket ends and the hardwood begins. So I'm still in this valley walking. I probably walked maybe, oh, it's getting pretty close to half a mile. I'm getting pretty close to the end of this little valley, but I'm starting to come across bigger rubs. Remember in the beginning I was showing you smaller ones but higher concentration. Now they're kind of more spread out, not as concentrated, but they are pretty big. I mean, look at where I'm standing right here. Now that is a mature deer rub. So you want to look maybe somewhere in the middle of the rub and kind of judge it by your leg. I'm about 5'10", and it comes up to me almost my upper thigh here. So maybe a 3 or 4 year old and up, but it's a good deer. Right after seeing this rub, I looked behind me, and right there is a historical rub. So that place got rubbed before. And then right ahead of me, right there, is another big rub. And this is actually a spur. And right on top of that spur is a thicket. So I'm gonna check that out obviously later on, because I still have maybe just a few hundred yards to go. But then when I come back there, I bet you I can find a setup somewhere in the middle of the spur. Because what I'm thinking is this deer, he either goes up or down the spur from that thicket. He probably beds near that thicket or in that thicket, and he comes down here to cross those trails and things like that. All right, so I went up the spur and just to see what's going on in here. I don't find any beds here, but what I'm finding is lots of rubs. This is basically a spot that's littered in deer activity. So they're definitely transitioning up this point. So the bedding may be a little bit deeper or maybe somewhere to the side, but I'm seeing historical rubs. Every one of these trees is just rubbed to death. There's a trail that's coming out of here going that way. There are actually two trails coming this way, and there's a trail right behind me and behind you. There's a trail going up the spur all the way into the thicket. So if you follow it all the way down, that's when I saw that giant rub. So I know this deer is probably traversing through this thicket. And maybe the does are crossing, maybe does are bedding here, and he's probably checking them out. So I'm thinking about setting up somewhere in between the valley bottom and this thicket. So I'm gonna walk back there maybe 50 or 60 yards that way, and I'm gonna find a tree to set up. Now the good thing is that I know there are no beds in this vicinity, so that means I can get very close to that thicket on that side, because the beds are further in there. So I'll be able to get maybe 25 to 30 yards to that thicket edge and set up. Obviously the wind has to go that way, or any type of crosswind. I think we have south is over there and north is that way. So either south wind or north wind or east wind coming this way would work. So I'm following the deer trail out of this thicket, and I don't know if the camera's picking up well, but there's a pretty clear path that I'm taking right now that's leading right out of this thicket and down the spur. Just like that. And that's how they would come out. In the evening or in the morning even, they would come out here, and look, you can see the ground is disturbed. That means they have been out here, and they have been, scavenging for food. And then if I will find one of those trees, maybe 20 yards from here or 30 yards from here, find a tree, something with background cover, and basically when they come out, I don't want to be directly in front of them because they're going to be looking down or at me, so I will have a very bad shot angle. So I'm going to probably set slightly that way or that way. I'm leaning toward that tree right there. That big poplar, I think, is right there. So I will have some cover, and I will probably have to climb all 3 sticks, but I'll sit there out of sight, out of mind. And right behind me I have a big deadfall there, so if the deer does come off the valley, they're probably not going to come directly behind me, but if they do, they're probably going to smell me anyway. But I would get here in probably pretty calm conditions, because this very small spur, and you don't want your scent to be swirling all over this place. So I'll probably get here in like calm conditions, maybe in the morning when the leaves and everything is damp, so I'm not making crazy sound coming in here, and basically slip on that tree and wait for them to traverse. So this doesn't look like a bedding. It looks more like a hub, like a transition, like a social area. They come through this spur, but they bed thicker further in that thicket. So here's another example of hunting off a spur. Behind me right there is the same bedding area that we've examined earlier, only we were on the other side of it. So because this whole bedding area is located on the spur. So we have a spot set up, a couple hundred yards that way behind the bedding area, and we can expect the deer move down there on east wind and pretty much any combination of east wind. The only wind that we could not pull off there is north or northwest combination. So I traveled on the other side of the bedding area, and there's another spur that's coming down here. And this one kind of allows me to come here for west wind, so I can get best of both worlds. That way I don't have to wait just for a specific wind. I can come here if I have west wind, or I can have east wind, and just depending on it, and I'll just travel along the valley in the bottom, go up the spur. If I have the west wind, for example, here, it's gonna be coming from there, right in my, coming down from here. So I would come up the valley, come up here, climb in the tree, set up, and I have protection. This tree is gonna be covering me. These trees right here will also have canopy, so I don't have to climb very high. Maybe a couple sticks, and I'll be able to see that way, and they'll give me about 25 to 30 yard shot. Okay, I'm in my last location for the day, and that is a hilltop, and it has some bedding. It has very thick area there, and I found some beds in there. I found some rubs. I found some activity like, grazing, and just simple, just trails. There are trails coming out from there. There's a deadfall right there, so it's a natural funnel. So I have this area right here that's gonna funnel the deer from there, and the spur goes down that way. It just fans down. I have a nice rub line over here. There's one rub, and there's a couple more rubs down the hill. So it tells me that the bucks do travel here, but so do the does as well. And at this location, I'm not really targeting any bucks or anything. This is just the rub that I found. But it just kind of tells me that they do traverse through here. So I'm gonna set up somewhere here, maybe like 60 or 70 yards from where it gets really thick. And I'm thinking of setting up on this tree right here. So this is gonna be my tree. And I have nice dogwoods, I think, in the background that are going to provide nice cover. I have this little tree right here to help break up my silhouette and everything. So I'll probably climb 3 sticks over here, or maybe just 2, since I have kind of like a pretty steep incline. So I'm gonna climb this tree, and I'm basically gonna expect movement from over there. They're gonna walk downhill, work their way toward the thermal hubs. Once again, you find where they sleep, find the trails that lead out from their bedding area. Just walk away from the far enough where you're not gonna bump them. Just slip up on this tree and expect movement from over there this way, and kill some deer.